Heathens and Heretics. Welcome to another In the Abyss reviews. Because this is an album that we were looking forward to as soon as we found out about it. But to be fair, ever since we discovered this band, we're always going to be looking forward to new music. But we'll come to that in a sec. I just want a quick shout out to The Grudge for our new theme music, Barrel Full of Smoke. As you know, The Grudge did our original bit of theme music. But it felt like time for a bit of a freshen up. So we were feeling a little bit dirty, a little bit grubby. So we freshened up a little bit. So it's Barrel Full of Smoke. Go and check it out on all their socials and everything. There's links and everything via our socials. So anyway, most importantly, a couple of days ago, we had Lowest Creature on the podcast, a band that we discovered roughly 18 months ago when we first started doing this podcast, I think, wasn't it? And
yeah.
They're a band that we fucking fell in love with straight away. Just that combination of classic thrash with bits of hardcore and classic metal and all that. But, you know, they've almost surprisingly dropped an album on us, which is out Friday, 27th of October. It's called Witch Supreme. And we're lucky enough to get an advance copy from the guys before they came on last week. And first impressions, Padre. It's just me and Padre this week, by the way. Voice of Reason has lost his voice.
I mean, firstly, I think just mention, don't ask us what we had to do to get that advance copy.
Well, I cradled the balls, but I'm willing. I'm more than willing to do that for riffs of this quality. But
yeah.
But look, Lowest Creature, they're a fucking awesome band. They're one of our favorite bands, and I honestly couldn't wait to hear this album. And you know, spoiler alert, I haven't been disappointed. Holy Man. First impressions, and what did you think on first listen?
Well, we had the EP a few months ago, and I really liked the EP. So, but I think the EP did as well set quite a high standard, high bar. But it's definitely it's a cracking album. I mean, we've referred to this before, that there's like elements of like classic metal on there. They've still retained the kind of hardcore, some of the breakdowns that we saw on the first album. But like the riffs, like is it Into Under the Sky? It's the intro riff to that song is incredible. My favorite moment on the entire album is track number 6, Walk, which is, you know, kind of a reference to Tolkien. It's, you know, anything like that's going to make me pay attention. But you know, 4 minutes in, there's just a riff in the middle of that song. The song's about 6 minutes long, which is just, you know, it's so simple. This is the thing. Their riffs are simple. They're not like incredibly intricate and technical. They're the kind of riffs that if you could probably pick up in an afternoon, if you were learning them on the guitar, if you were like a new guitar player, and you would just be like over the moon because they would just sound amazing. Probably even going through like a practice amp and a beginner guitar. So it's like, I think that's the beauty of them. There's simple riffs, but there's a lot of chug, good mid-range sound, and you just know that when those guys start playing bigger venues, these songs are really going to get the pit going. They're going to get the crowd pumping. It's going to be really good live. And if they get a good sound at a gig, these songs are going to come across really well.
Yeah, they will. Because one thing we noticed from this album, you know, not to mention just this sort of more of a shift towards like a more atmospheric classic metal rather than just that straight crossover thrash. The songs sound huge, don't they? And you're right. I can see it on a you know, on an outdoor festival stage even.
Definitely.
This will fill it, no problem.
Yeah, I mean, they said to us when they came on the first time, Tobias mentioned that they were they're trying to put more lead work into the songs.
Yeah.
And they have, but they've done it in a way where it's not just solos for the sake of it. They fit the song really well. There's a lot of solos on there that aren't just like someone whittling away and trying to play as fast as they can. And they really blend in with the song. And they, like you said, they create another layer, an atmospheric layer that's really nice to hear on that song. So again, it shows they've got a good eclectic foundation from which they can kind of compose tunes. So I think this is definitely a statement, this album, and it bodes well for the future if they can keep coming up with material of this quality.
Yeah, completely. I mean, the production is perfect for this kind of album. Tobias's vocals just sound great. I love the fact that he can go from 1 minute just good old fucking hardcore bellowing to sounding almost like John Tardy from Obituary at times, especially on Rough Riders. The way he just hangs out those notes, and it just adds that extra level of evil that, as good as Sacrilegious Pain was, it didn't have that side of metal. It was a straight up crossover, whereas this, you've got elements of bands like Merciful Fate in there. I think it's, again, going back to that word atmosphere, it's a bit more evil. There's a bit more sort of classic metal going on.
Yeah, there's some definite it's almost brooding in places.
Brooding, I used that word as well in my notes, funnily enough. Yes.
Yeah, and there's there's a sense that something's like in some of the songs again, like Wog, you've got that middle bit, but it doesn't just, these riffs don't just kick in. There's a build up, so you've got that kind of like sense of approaching doom, as it were, like something's going to happen, you know. And I think that's that hardcore beatdown influence, like leading up to, and what I like as well is that there were some bands that you'd have that kind of breakdown, and what would come back in would be a solo straight away. But they don't do that. They do it with riffs, and I like that. I think that's cool.
Yeah. The blend of the lead work and the riffs is, I think this is one of the best albums I've heard in recent years to get that right. It's, dare I say it, this is better than anything Power Trip have done for me, this album. And I know the comparisons are a little bit lazy, but they are similar bands. Whereas Lowest Creature have got a bit more of a metal element, a bit less hardcore, I think this album is, like you say, if everything falls right for them over the next 12 to 18 months, we could be talking about this in very high regard. It's that fucking good. I'm not going to beat about the bush. This is pushing my album of the year. It's very close.
I think as well that the whole package of the album, there's some serious thought that's gone into this, and they've come up with some, you know, I mean, I like the album title, Witch Supreme, is a great album title.
The artwork goes with it as well, doesn't it? The artwork is a perfect follow-on from Sacrilegious Pain. You can see they're both Lowest Creature albums. It works. There's a uniform to it. A couple of other songs. The first single they dropped, Under the Night Sky, like you said, this proper sort of Merciful Fate type of riff, and then went into a classic Lowest Creature stomp. But there's, you know, even Tobias's vocals at one point hit a bit of a high note, which I've, you know, haven't heard before and wasn't expecting. So it's mixing all those different types of metal, which could go very wrong, but they get it so right. From a songwriting point of view, these guys have absolutely fucking nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. And I find it hard that any metal fan, any fan of Metallica, Slayer, fucking Merciful Fate, Maiden, Priest, you're going to love this. I find it hard to see how you couldn't.
Yeah, I agree. And I think as well, if you've got people who are into things like The Haunted or In Flames or At the Gates, they're going to appreciate this as well.
Yeah,
I think
completely.
there's something for many different people on this album. And I think, you know, credit to them. It's not easy coming up with a second album off the back of that first album, because there were some really good songs on that. You know, I mean, like we've said this before, but that song "Reaper's Fall" on the first album is just absolutely. That is just like, how do you write a riff? I mean, if you look at the guitar tab for that riff, you think that looks piss easy to play, and it is. I learned it. I mean, after I heard it, I sat down and learned it. But at the same time, I'm just like, it's so simple.
But that's what makes them so good, and that's what's going to make them so accessible.
It's good before, like, you know.
I think that's what's going to take them forward, is because it isn't overly technical. It's just good fucking songs. It's big rock, isn't it?
Yeah, I like that. They need to like trademark that.
Fucking right.
That's got to be like, you know, on the t-shirts and stuff, Big Rock, like kind of Big Rock, courtesy of Sweden, kind of thing or something.
I might have it tattooed on my kneecaps or something. It's something. It's something. It needs to go further than just a passing comment.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a town somewhere called Big Rock.
More than likely.
Maybe they should go there and like get some photo shoots done. Take Ross Halfin. I think that's what they can do. They can go to Utah, go to Monument Valley, and get shot in front of those massive rock formations out in the desert. Big Rock. That's it. That should be the third album. Just call it Big Rock.
Big Rock on a Big Rock. You like the Metallica video for I Disappear.
Yeah.
Big Rock on a Big Rock. But look, all joking aside, I think, look, if you were to cut my head open and go digging around and try and build a perfect sounding metal album, this is as close as it gets because it's got the full works. And that might be a sweeping statement, but fuck me, I don't know. I just can't believe a band can make two albums as good as Sacrilegious Pain and Witch Supreme in the space of a couple of years. It makes me sick. It's something in the water in Sweden. It really is.
If they've done it again, what is it with that country? That keep doing this. It's putting us to shame. I mean, like, I've got to say, like, I really love the Tail Gunner album, and the band are great, and like some of the videos that are popping up on Instagram and Facebook at the minute because they're on tour at the moment, and like they're dropping videos in of their new guitarist Rhea Thompson. Fuck me, that girl can shred like a motherfucker.
Yeah, she's a special talent, and
that is special. Like,
you know what?
Go and watch her cover of Paganini's Caprice, Seventh Caprice. It's the solo that Steve Vai plays from that film Crossroads. Dear God, it's immense.
You know what? Bands like Tailgunner are worth a mention in this same breath, really, because Lowest Creature in terms of song and all that are quintessentially Swedish. What we expect from all those classic Swedish bands, and Tailgunner are quintessentially British. You hear them, they're a British band. So it's like there's an identity to Lowest Creature that is undeniable. You hear music this good, and you're just going to go, yeah, Swedish.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think the point I was going to make was that the way like Tailgunner are reaching out to their fans, but then they're dropping videos every day of them on tour doing stuff, and obviously what I like to see is like they're loving that. You can tell they're loving it at the minute. They're excited. They've obviously the work they've put in the last couple of years is starting to pay off, and that was up there for album of the year for me as well. But I think this one might pip it because
it's going to be very, very high in the list. It's made things awkward, that's for sure. But
the weird thing for me is like I absolutely love Maiden, right? But when I think of Maiden, they're one of the few bands that I don't think of in terms of riffs.
No.
But I think of them in terms of the whole song, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with Tailgunner for me. I look at them, when I think of them, I don't think of there's that one riff in that one song. I just think that it's the song. So whereas I can, sit down and listen to Slayer and be like, I want to listen to that song because I want to listen to that riff. But Lowest Creature are like that as well. You want to listen to that one song because that riff's in there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I see exactly what you mean. They are in that category, aren't they? That it's the riffs drive everything along.
Yeah,
It's all built around these incredible riffs. Just like you said, simple, stomping, headbanging riffs.
They've got to play Bloodstock next year. They've got to. If Bloodstock have got any. If they're listening, if they're watching forums, if they're keeping up with what's coming out that's new, then come on, man, just get Lowest Creature, and Tailgunner on the bill next year in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, I think that's a great shout, and we'll push that because I'd love to see Lowest Creature. I'd like to see Lowest Creature open in the main stage at Bloodstock because it's always a good slot. You always get a decent crowd, and you can make a real impact.
And put Tailgunner opening up on the Sunday.
yeah, it's it has to be. Look,
Or even better, put Tail Gunner further up the bill on one of the other stages.
there's always going to be plenty of opportunities, but all we're saying is that it's an exciting time for these young metal bands. There's so much good stuff coming along. We just hope that Lowest Creature get to the UK and actually play some shows, because I think the likelihood of them being in Saudi Arabia is pretty fucking slim. So I think you're going to be shit out of luck there. But
yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I don't know if their sound would translate well to the desert, you know. So,
perhaps not. Perhaps not. It's not really. But anyway, look, quickly back to the album. A couple of other standout songs. We mentioned Rough Riders. Great track. I just love that whole Rough Riders with fire in their eyes. It's just, it's classic metal stuff. Beyond the Grave, the closing track on the album. There's a couple of bonus tracks on the end for the digital release, but the track 10, Beyond the Grave, this really reminds me of Creeping Death. It's got that same kind of epic thrash riffing that Creeping Death has got.
Yeah.
And I think that could be their next step, is going more towards that big sounding epic thrash, because they've got that in their locker. Songwriting capabilities like this, they've got that in their locker.
Definitely. And again, they don't need to rely on things like solos. I mean, it's great if you can drop them in, but again, when you've got riffs like this, you don't really need loads of solos.
No, you don't. What solos are on this album just fit in perfectly. Everything just flows exactly how you want a metal album to flow. It's dynamic. Yeah. It's got all the different paces, everything you want, and look, Joe, if you're listening, this album is really pushing you a lot for my album of the year. It's going to be a fight between the two. So, I thought British bands were going to take it this year, but Sweden's just walked in and just gone, nah, fuck a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Erna up there for me as well. I mean, like the Nervosa album as well.
Banger.
Yeah, Celestial Devastation, that album.
Celestial Sanctuary.
Sorry, Celestial Sanctuary. And what's the other one? The Doomsday. Because that EP is just insane.
That EP is a banger, and that's in a similar vein to Lowest Creature as well. This whole, crossover thrash, it's having a good year. There's been some great releases, so long may it continue. But
Dead Heat as well, I really like them.
Yeah, that EP was decent, and I wasn't too keen on them at first. So yeah, it's always good. Right, look, so let's round it up. Lowest Creature. We're trying to avoid giving albums a rating, out of sort of 10 or 11, but because it always makes it a little bit too obvious and a little bit difficult to really nail it down. But this is as high a rated a metal album as you're going to hear all year.
Look, if you were hungry and you're going to go for fast food, this album is definitely Five Guys or In-N-Out Burger. It's not McDonald's. It's much better. Okay.
I'm not sure whether to say. I'm not sure whether that's a compliment or an insult, to be honest with you. If they are going to be fast food, they're the best fucking fast food out there. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's the kind of fast food you eat, and you think to yourself, "At least I know everything was fresh," so you feel less guilty for having it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, fresh riffs.
yeah, fresh riffs. Yeah.
But look, it's out this Friday, the 27th. Go check them out. I find it hard to believe that any metal fan wouldn't like this. It's so full of hooks, great riffs, great songs, great vocals, great lyrics. It's got the full package. So we urge you to go and listen to it. You'll be sick of me going on about it by the end of this year, because it's not going to stop here. So until we actually get them playing in the UK, I'm not going to stop. I'm going to every fucking week, if necessary, we will talk about Lowest Creature one way or another. So there you go. So that's it. Thanks for listening. We will be back probably in a few days. Recording is a little bit interrupted by inconvenient gigs at the minute. Thanks, Hell Ripper and Tail Gunner and a few others. But we will be back at some point. Hopefully the voice of reason will get his voice back and everything will be back to normal. So until then, thanks for listening. Stay metal.